All right, y'all, this is a bit of a hot take. This is for all my queer folks as well as all of my allies. We're gonna start real hot. I'm gonna come back, cool it down, and then we're gonna crank up the heat a little bit for the end. All right, so stick with me through this. All right, here's the hot take. Stop using the terms male and female to describe gender. Altogether, only use them to describe sex. Okay, let's break this down. So, I do genuinely believe that all people should be free to identify however they like. I do genuinely believe that. However, if you want to sell this concept that sex and gender are different things, which they are, then we have to nail down this terminology. This is really important. I have had many conversations with cisgender folk who have a somewhat negative view of gender beyond the binary, where I take them from that point to a solid understanding of and positive appreciation and attitude toward both gender beyond the binary and sex beyond the binary in a single conversation. Okay, I can do this in a single conversation. I've done it many times. People are lacking the education, but they're open to the conversation. It can be done, but it relies on the clarity, on the distinction between sex and gender, and that relies on the terminology as well that surrounds it. Okay? So again, it's this very specific thing of male and female for sex, and then boy, girl, man, woman, guy, gal, lady, lord, everything else for gender. And of course, none of that even includes anything beyond the binary. That's later in the conversation. But it's gender is this human thing, right? That like it's a thing for people, right? Every other living being, we only talk about sex, and that's another important piece of this. Whenever you're talking about any other living being in the real world, you should only use terminology around sex. So for other living beings, that's male, that's female, that's asexual, and hermaphroditism, hermaphrodite or showing hermaphroditism. Is those four terms, and then the term sex, right? So and then for human beings, it's male, female, and intersex. And then of course with intersex, you can get more detailed within that, but those three broadly cover just about everybody. And then with gender, you can use all the other terms, and you can have trans and non-binary and everything else. But it's really, really important that we get this right. All the time, I run into like forums and stuff made by people who claim to be super progressive or whatever that ask for gender and then list male, female, and other. And it's like, what is this nonsense? This makes it really, really hard to make the distinction, not having this terminology clear. Because when I make my pitch, part of those conversations that I have, where I convince people, where I get people to understand the difference between sex and gender, part of that explaining is as I say, male and female are used for sex, man, woman, boy, girl, everything else is used to describe gender. That helps to make it really, really clear in their mind, because we use the terms male and female to describe sex in animals and plants and all these other things. And so that having that through line, that connection is really straightforward. By the way, fictional characters who are anthropomorphized, you can use gender to describe. That's fine too. But here's where I turn the heat back up a little bit. Here's where kind of the second hot take is. When you lack this clarity, you are hurting trans kids. Okay? Here's why. Here's what I'm talking about can happen. I'm talking about a trans kid who doesn't have the full context, doesn't know about all this stuff, maybe has not even heard the term intersex, and maybe still thinks that sex is binary. And they end up in a conversation with somebody who then comes back at them and says, but I filled out a form yesterday that asked for my gender and it said male, female, and other. There are only two genders, right? And this trans kid doesn't know how to respond. They don't have the arsenal. They don't have the education and the understanding, and you're putting them in a bad spot. And furthermore, that just makes all of this that much more confusing. When we're not clear on this terminology and this distinction and this separation, then you are making it more difficult for trans kids and trans teens to understand and learn about and grasp this issue, as well as explain it to others and to help other people understand. By not having this clear distinction, you are giving ammo to folks who claim that gender is binary. Of course, without any substantial evidence, and against everything we know, but it's real. And I don't want to give them ammo. I don't want to hurt trans kids. So I'm telling, like this is my opinion, but my goodness, like we gotta get this cleared and straight. We like this. The terminology around this is incredibly important, and I urge you to like be so incessant about it that it bugs you. I want you to call it out, and I want you to really help to make this something that we can coalesce around and really get straight and clear, so that way we can get more people to understand what this stuff really is and what's going on. So you want to protect trans kids? Be very clear and precise with your terminology, and get others to as well. Okay, thank you.